Chapter 3 of the Debian Administrator's Handbook. Um, Hopefully, we get to the good stuff. Analyzing the existing setup and migrating. This chapter contains coexistence in heterogeneous environments, integration with Windows machines, integration with Mac OS machines, integration with other Linux/Unix machines, and how to migrate, survey and identify services, backing up the configuration, taking over an existing Debian server, installing Debian, and installing and configuring selected services. Let's go. Let's go. Any computer system overhaul should take the existing system into account. This allows reuse of available resources as much as possible and guarantees interoperability of the various elements comprising the system. This study will introduce a generic framework to follow in any migration of a computing infrastructure to Linux. Chapter 3.1 Coexistence in heterogeneous environments. Debian integrates very well in all types of existing environments and plays well with any other operating system. This near perfect harmony comes from market pressure with which demands that software publishers develop programs that follow standards. Compliance with standards allow administrators to switch out programs, clients or servers, whether free or not. 3.1.1 Integration with Windows machines. Samba's SMB CIF support ensures excellent communication within a Windows context. It shares files and prints queues to Windows clients. Uh, it shares files and print queues to Windows clients and includes software that allows a Linux machine to use resources available on a Windows service tool Samba. The latest version of Samba can replace most of the Windows features, from those of a simple Windows NT service, authentication, file, print queues, downloading, printer drivers, DFS, etc., to the most advanced one, a domain controller compatible with Active Directory. 3.1.2 Integration with macOS machines. Mac OS machines provide and are able to use network services such as file servers and printer sharing. These services are published on the local network, which allows other machines to discover them and make use of them without any manual configuration, using the Bonjour implementation of the ZeroConf protocol suite. Debian includes another implementation called Avahi, which provides the same functionality. In the other direction, the NetaTalk daemon can be used to provide file servers to macOS machines on the network. It implements the AFP protocol, Apple file filing the AFP protocol, Apple filing protocol, now Apple Share, as well as the required notifications so that the servers can be automatically discovered by the macOS clients. Older Mac OS networks before OS X used a different protocol called Apple Talk. For environments involving machines using this protocol, NetaTalk also provides the Apple Talk protocol. In fact, it started as a reimplementation of that protocol. It ensures the operation of the file servers and print queues, as well as time server clock synchronization. Its router functions allows interconnection with Apple Talk's networks. 3.1.3 Integration with other Linux and Unix machines. Finally, NFS, Network File System, and NIS, Network Information Service, both included guarantee interaction with Unix systems. NFS ensures file server functionality, while NIS creates user directories. The BSD printing layer used by most Unix systems also allows sharing of print queues. BSD printing layer. Sharing of print queues. Yeah. Next, 3, part 2 of chapter 3, how to migrate. In order to guarantee continuity of the services, each computer migration must be planned and executed according to the plan. This principle applies regardless of which operating system is used. Survey and identify services. As simple as it seems, this step is essential. A serious administrator truly knows the principal roles of each server, but such roles can change, and sometimes experienced users may have installed wild services. Knowing that they exist will at least allow you to decide what to do with them rather than delete them haphazardly. For this purpose, it is wise to inform your users of the project before migrating the server. To involve them in a project, it may be useful to install the most common free software programs on their desktop prior to migration, which they will come across again after the migration to Debian. LibreOffice and the Mozilla Suite are the best examples here. Network and processes. The Nmap tool in the package with the same name will quickly identify internet services hosted by a network connected machine without even requiring to log into it. Simply call the following command on another machine connected to the same network. Nmap mirwis. Nmap mirwis. Starting Nmap. Scanning host. Alternative. Use SS to find a list of available services. On Linux machine, the ss-anptu command will show the list of active or pending TCP sessions, as well as UDP ports on which running programs are listening. This facilitates identification of services offered on the network. Some network commands may work either with IPv4 default usually, or with IPv6. These include the nmap and ss commands, but also others such as route or IP. The convention is that this behavior is enabled by the -6 command line option. The structure of this book is very. It seems you already know everything basically. if you know everything about Linux, you read this book and it tells you everything about Linux or something. Nmap mirrorwiz, starting Nmap. Okay, what is that? Quickly identifies internet services hosted by a network connected machine without even requiring to log into it. Call the following command on another machine connected to the same world. How do I call a command on another machine without logging into it? Pinging it, like pinging it or something. Or it just calls it on every other machine in the same network. Okay, so I think Mirwis is like an example. It's like fooball or something. So nmap and then the IP or the host name to scan another computer. Um, and then the SS is scanning your own machine. So this information, this IP is the IP of the Mirwis host on your network. If the server is a Unix machine offering shell accounts to users, it is interesting to determine if processes are executed in the background in the absence of their owner. The command psauxw displays a list of all processes with their user identity. By checking this information against the output of the who or w command, which give the list of logged in users, it is possible to identify rogue or undeclared servers or programs running into the background. Looking at cron tabs, tables listing automatic actions, scalable use, will often provide interesting information on functions fulfilled by the server. A complete explanation of cron is available in section 9.7 scheduling tasks with cron and ATD. Command PSAUXW displays a list of processes. It'll probably be covered in more detail later. 3.2.2 Backing up the configuration. It's wise to retain the configuration of every identified service in order to be able to install the equivalent on the updated server. The bare minimum is to make a backup copy of the configuration files. It is wise to retain the configuration of every identified service in order to be able to install the equivalent on the updated server. The bare minimum is to make a backup copy of the configuration files. For Unix machines, the configuration files are usually found in /etc/ but they may be located in a subdirectory of usr/local. This is the case if a program has been installed from sources rather than with a package. In some cases, one may also find them under /opt. For data managing services such as databases, it is strongly recommended to export the data to a standard format that will be easily imported by the new software. Such a format is usually in text mode and documented. It may be, for example, an SQL dump for a database or an LDIF file for an LDAP server. Each server is different, and it's impossible to describe all existing cases in detail. Compare the documentation for the existing and the new software to identify the exportable, thus re-importable portions, and those which will require manual handling. Reading this book will clarify the configuration of the main Linux server program. 3.2.3 Taking over an existing Debian server. To effectively take over its maintenance, one may analyze a machine already running with Debian. The first file to check is /etc/debian _version, which usually contains the version number for the installed Debian system. It is part of the base files package. If it indicates codename SID, it means that the system was updated with packages coming from one of the development distributions, either testing or unstable. Development distributions, either testing or unstable. If the apt show versions programs from the Debian package of the same name, checks the list of installed packages and identifies the available versions. Checks the list installed packages and by the available versions. Aptitude can also be used for those tasks, albeit in a less systematic manner. At a glance, the etc apt sources etc/apt/sources.list file and etc/apt/sources/list etc/apt/sources.list.d directory will show where the installed Debian packages likely come from. If many unknown sources appear, the administrator may choose to completely reinstall the computer system to ensure optimal compatibility with the software provided by Debian. The sources.list file is often a good indicator. The majority of administrators keep, at least in the comments, the list of apt sources that were previously used. But you should not forget that sources used in the past might have been deleted and that some random packages grabbed on the internet might have been manually installed. With the help of the dpg command, in this case the machine is misleading in its appearance of being a standard Debian system. This is why you should pay attention to any indication that will give away the presence of external packages, appearance of deb files in unusual directories, package version numbers with a special suffix indicating that it originated from outside the Debian project, such as Ubuntu or LMDE, etc. Likewise, it is interesting to analyze the contents of the usr/local directory, whose purpose is to contain programs compiled and installed manually. Listing software installed in this manner is instructive, since this raises questions on the reasons for not using the corresponding Debian package if such a package exists. Quick look craft/craftng, debsums, and apt show version. The craft and craftng packages propose to list the available files that are not owned by any package. They have some filters, more or less effective and more or less up to date, to avoid reporting some legitimate files. Files generated by Debian packages or generated configuration files not managed by dpackage, etc. Be careful not to blindly delete everything that craft and craftng might list. The debsums package allows to shake the MD5 hashsums of each file installed by package against a reference hashsum and can help to determine which files might have been altered. See tip finding change files. Be aware that created files generated by Debian packages, or generated configuration files not managed by dpackage, etc. The apt show versions package provides a tool to check for installed packages without a package source and can help to determine a third-party packages. Apt show version can determine third-party packages. I thought apt show versions would show what app has installed, not what app hasn't installed. Craft is list available files that are not owned by any package. Define the craft. Chapter 3.24 Installing Debian. Once all the required information on the current server is known, we can shut it down and begin to install Debian on it. To choose the appropriate version, we must know the computer's architecture. If it is reasonably recent PC, it's most likely to be AMD 64. Older PCs were usually i386. In other cases, we can narrow down the possibilities according to the previously used system. Table 3.1 is not intended to be exhaustive, but may be helpful. Note that the list Debian architectures which are no longer supported in the current stable release, or in any case, the original documentation for the computer is the most reliable source to find this information. Hardware: 64-bit PC versus 32-bit PC. Most recent computers have 64-bit Intel or AMD processors compatible with older 32-bit processors. The software compiled for i386 architecture thus works. On the other hand, this compatibility mode does not fully exploit the capabilities of these new processors. This is why Debian provides the AMD's architecture, which works for recent AMD chips as well as EM64T processors, including most of the Core series, which are similar to AMD 64. So, like, it works on Intel chips too, yes. I haven't really understood this, but okay, so i386 is 32-bit and 64MD is 64-bit. 3.2.5 Installing and configuring the selected services. Once Debian is installed, we need to individually install and configure each of the services that this computer must host. The new configuration must take into consideration the prior one in order to ensure a smooth transition. All the information collected in the first two steps will be useful to successfully complete this part. Prior to jumping into this exercise with both feet, it is strongly recommended that you read the remainder of this book. After that, you will have a more precise understanding of how to configure the expected services. End of chapter 3.